Test, test. Test, test. Test, test. This one's quiet. Test, test. Test, test. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, Mike is at a good level this morning. And yeah, hope everyone's having themselves a fantastic start to their AM. Happy Friday. It's been a wild week, I think, right? What a straight line we've seen in the market here last, say, 5 or 6 days. Fantastic follow through again here this pre-market, right? Setting up for nice 3 for 3s. And yeah, no reason for anyone to sell at the moment. You know, we'll see how much of this momentum basically maintains or continues here overnight. But fantastic conditions here, or fantastic backdrop. Hopefully this gives us a few tradable opportunities. A few things here. So a few of you should hopefully get some accounts restored within the next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Got a script working and running that should fix a lot of problems. Do believe we found the root of all evil inside the code that was causing me some issues. So hopefully, yeah, by this afternoon, or for sure by Monday, everything is kind of back to normal, and things are moving a little bit smoother and easier. So that's fantastic. For full disclosure, that did mean I was up really late last night and I didn't get a ton of sleep. So for me, my focus is really on like just high quality like trading decisions, and probably understanding that I have a lower tolerance, right, for bad decisions. So like a big focus for me today is going to be about like being really deliberate with the number of trades that I take, and being really deliberate with how aggressive I am in managing them. You know, I think it's really easy. Yeah, when you're tired, end of a long week. I think this is why Fridays are dangerous for people all the time. It's just a little bit easy to take your foot off the gas, relax, and then just kind of ruin your own weekend. And I don't really want to do that. It'd be really nice to be able to go outside and not have to feel the self-loathing because of a dumb trading decision. So that's really what the objective is here today. Focus on the variables I can control. Let the market come to me, even though it might be, ripping and roaring. Don't have to chase it. And, when I am in a position, I need to kind of acknowledge that, yeah, like my body's probably not working, or my brain isn't working at 100% capacity. And so it's important to be deliberate and to know that kind of going in. Doesn't mean I can't trade my system, but I don't want to put it under unnecessary stress or pressure where it's not needed. So number of decisions here today is going to be important. Goal is a one and done. We'll see if we can make that happen, but we'll plan for the worst, hope for the best, and hopefully have ourselves a really strong trading day somewhere in between. All right. Economic calendar here today. Pretty chill. More IMF stuff. Fine. Nothing too crazy. So we should be able to start to map things out here reasonably well. Yes, again, lagging on volume, right, relative to NQ based on what we're seeing. 164 versus 168. So that's a 2 out of 3 to the upside without volume, right? And again, like the without volume, I think is important because it's quite low relative to what we just saw there on NQ. Again, at all-time highs and not a ton of momentum or a ton of enthusiasm. It's a little bit of a concern. I think the other, I'm not sure if this is a narrative yet, and maybe it's I'm watching too much Professor Jang or listening to too much Professor Jang in my spare time. But the Saudis have started pulling money from stuff like Live Golf or their football teams, or a lot of that UAE money, right, is being turned off or allocated in other assets. The UAE, or some of these like nation states in the Middle East, they are some of the largest investors in the market now. Right now, they have no incentive to sell. Right, they're at all-time highs. Their markets are at all-time highs. Hunky dory. Things are looking spicy. It's their most profitable thing that's working at the moment. If that equation changes, that I think is probably an opportunity where you could see a pretty sudden reverse in liquidity that wouldn't necessarily be telegraphed, right? So kind of how they move in one, multi-billion-dollar investment to how they behave in another. It's going to be very similar. And I think that's maybe not something that the markets, that fear of contagion, I don't think the market is pricing in too well. So if we can keep prices here at these highs, you have an opportunity to basically have like a grind up summer and, like a trending summer. If we lose that floor or we lose that stability and we get back to everything sort of being in the red or selling off, this is probably where things start to get a little bit spicy, and we might see an even greater draw on the liquidity available to us in the market. Now, hopefully that's a long ways away, but we'll see how that goes. Oh, you got to look them up on YouTube. Trader AJ's this Chinese professor who's basically just doing a ton of commentary on the war. He's quite an eccentric. And he says some outrageous things, but in general, pretty smart guy. All right, so we'll go 7150 as our target here. Skipping numbers. We'll go to 72. Again, plenty of space. To the downside here, you're starting at 75. So we'll call it 80. We're at 134. So I'll call it 100. And then maybe we'll go to like 50. Okay. ES, NQ, much clearer volume profile than ES, right? Textbook breakout, bigger volume than the 3 for 3 we had there yesterday. Definitely seems like tech is leading the charge, right? Volume is confirming that. 850 or 826 appears to be the pre-market high. So we'll call this 900. Big concern, I guess, more than anything here is how much juice is left in the tank here today for NQ. If it's already given us a decent sized move like it has, wouldn't be too surprising for it to be like, yeah, I'm good, right? If we look at price action basically for the entirety of April, it's just, 17% move, right? From lows to highs. That's pretty insane. So we got to be a little bit careful not to chase this just because it's been running. But if we see our setups, markets can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. So it's not about getting out of the way, about finding the right train car to hold on to and basically see where it can take us. But we don't want to get too aggressive. We don't want to force this too much if we don't have to. And I don't think it'd be too surprising to see a very similar theme to what we've seen this week, where markets are just kind of chilling. And or like they're moving big during the morning and then kind of chilling during the day. And I think that might be the path of least resistance or maybe the most likely outcome. All right, downside here, we're going to be looking at like 26, I think 26.5. I'll go 26.6 actually. Okay. Again, lots of space either direction. All right, CL. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense with CL selling off back into the 80s. We'll see, the reality of that, right? The pattern we've seen throughout the special operation, however you want to call it, is Monday through Friday, a lot of de-escalation, right? Trying to basically calm down markets. Weekends are where they get spicy. So I don't know. It could be true. It could be false. Who knows? Price action is definitely reacting well to it. That's ultimately all we care about. Okay, future's still rolling, so I'm not going to touch it. Apple red, decreasing gap up, so 1 for 3. Tesla, maybe an inside bar. Yep. Okay, Microsoft, 2 out of 3. Oops, 2 out of 3 to the upside with volume or without volume. Amazon, green, decreasing gap up, so without. AMD, ooh, ripper. 3 out of 3. NVIDIA, inside bar. So a lot of our leading names, right, are telling us they want to break out from their consolidation here today. If we do get that narrative and that narrative gets supported by volume, that probably adds a little bit of extra fire to NQ, right? Or it gives us that chance for a pretty big continuation. Oh my gosh. Netflix beat top and bottom line. That earnings beat's very surprising. That's a huge number. And still it sells off 10%. Whoa, earnings are such a punt. Okay, so call that a 2 out of 3 to the upside. With volume. Google, red, decreasing gap up, so 1 for 3. And then I'm guessing Vixaruni here this morning's in like a sub 17 range. Ooh, just about 17 spot 22. So about implied 1% of volatility. Now, if the market reacts positively to that news, then we can continue pushing higher here this morning. No reason why it would stall out here, but we'll see. Yeah, like truth be told, I don't care too much about like the patterns or how price action behaved in the opening or prior to the US Open. Kind of just want to give it a fresh slate. So, if you were trading pre-market or you were playing with any of that kind of stuff, that's cool. But just use the bell as the reset and try to keep as many biases away from your trading decisions as possible. Best case scenario, right? You get into a trade a little bit earlier than you would have had you just waited for your system. Worst case scenario, you get stuck chasing an idea you can't seem to shake, and you decide you want to be smart, not profitable. So there is very, like, the risk reward equation there is pretty skewed. Oh shoot, sometimes I forget the YouTube. Thanks, Logan. All right, YouTube should be updated. Yeah, when you get stuck on it, I mean, it happens, but it's usually because, yeah, we have some sort of, I want to be smart. We've got some ego attachment to something, right? It makes it hard to let go. So let it be fresh, right? Let it just settle in, tell us what we should do. And then we're just reacting to the market and reacting to our system, not changing it, not free soloing it, not improvising it. Just deliberate. Yeah. It just, in hindsight, those are always the losses that if you just get rid of those, for a lot of traders, it probably gets them to break even. And then if you can start to just like hold on to your winners just a little bit longer, all of a sudden, right? Get that nice switch to flip. All right, so a little bit indecisive here so far, right? First move lower, it's a bit of a shakeout so far. I'd be shocked if we get increasing volume here, right? So this might be a little bit of a waiter for us. So is it like, yeah, seeing double digits is pretty good. Biggest of the week by the looks of it. So biggest of the week volume at the open, but also the most indecisive. It's a bit of an interesting story. The next opportunity, though, right? Pretty clear and reasonable breakout. Like the 3-min looks a little bit weaker. The 5-min, and by weaker, I mean strong to the downside than maybe what the 2 was saying. But we're missing that volume narrative, right? So we still need to see that increasing volume post breakout. Haven't seen that. So we're going to have to wait it out a little bit. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, so far, I'll take another day like yesterday, though. My biggest fear is market just stops today, right? We've had a huge rip last couple days. The last couple days is like literally all of April. And then it's a Friday. I don't know. Just if I was a lazy institutional trader, I'd probably I'd take a Wall Street lunch today for sure. Yesterday was a strong day. Strong day. Okay, inside bar. Not great. Does look a little bit like yesterday now, or it does feel a little bit like yesterday now. And if that's the case, right, then the biggest move of the day is sort of like the initial morning reversal. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, we've all seen Wolf of Wall Street, I'm sure. So again, we're kind of waiting for some of that volume to show up. Now, if we're going to play a reversal, quote unquote, I'm just going to wait for the breakout through and for that breakout to happen with that volume profile that we're looking for. 25 seconds to go here. Maybe this candle has a chance, but still no active setup. So, we got to kind of have to watch. If this thing does close above, there is a chance that that volume shows up. So even though we don't have an active setup, there's maybe a probability of one happening that's greater than, let's say, 20%. Well, I've spent the last minute maybe or last 20 seconds not giving it enough hype. So we still need to see that increasing volume. Oh. No, I think we kind of got the slow narrative. I think we nailed that. Every candle being like descending volume, taking the stairs, lower and lower and lower. Kind of has this tendency to want to make me fall asleep. Again, a little inside bar. A little bit of like skinny person's tug of war happening at 700, right? Where there's not really a lot of mass on either side of the fight. Price is kind of fighting around 700, but doesn't seem like there's anyone there, or maybe not the volume I would have expected at 700. Hey, Ricky. Hey, buddy. I think, probably on the balance of powers, considering, market context and what we've seen here so far this morning, probably the longer that we consolidate kind of in this upper third of the opening range or like around that 700, probably, I gotta be careful, but, I would say it gives me maybe more confidence that we have upside left than it would that this is like an obvious market reversal spot here to the downside. %, Jerry. 100%. Super reasonable. I think you guys have all seen Kiki in here, right? And how she just stacks up green day after green day after green day. She's had a rule for like 3 months. Yeah, she stacks up green months, and she's had a rule where she just doesn't do Fridays. I'm talking about one of our members. Yeah, my guy came, said hello, and he's back to bed somewhere. Okay, so again, increasing volume finally showed up, but it showed up as a doji, right? As indecision. So I can't rely on that candle or that volume to give me the base that I'm looking for. So again, we still have to wait, and we still need to see that increasing volume standard. So again, we just don't seem to want to cross up and over, right? Just don't want to seem to cross up and over. Okay, volume shows up. Oh, second biggest volume of the day already. No, I don't use RSI. I don't care anything. Like it's just not it's not a part of my workflow. Like all those indicators, they're all someone's interpretation of what price and volume is doing, right? So it's like, why wouldn't I just study the source material and come up with my own interpretation? That's always sort of been my philosophy. Again, still kind of just choppy mess so far, right? We're 20 minutes in. Gary, I thought you were done for the day. Well, if you told yourself, right, that you don't want to trade because you've seen the volume dry up and it's choppy and you've got history of, making some issues on a Friday, why now complicate that and like poke the bear, right? You had the right instinct. I'd say protect yourself from yourself. Don't get me wrong. Probably the second you leave, we're going to get a trade. That's going to be how it is. But the focus here isn't on the quality of the outcome. It's on trusting your psychology and creating that feedback loop, right? Okay, so this is our first real attempt to the upside. Good increasing breakout. So we'll be looking, what, 719, 720-ish for now, 722, 721. That'd mean a 31 reference price, right? But I'll give this a second. This is probably our area where you'd expect support, right? 1, 2, 3 wicks have showed up. I don't really want to be going too far below that. That would put me at 711. Reference price would be the wicks. Right, 720. Beautiful. Okay, guys, I am in. Average price 717.50. 717.50. Perfect. See if we can hold this breakout here now. Come on. A little bit less conviction in the last 10 seconds of that candle, truth be told. Took the stop. Minus 787.90. Looked good for just a second, and then it stalled out at 30. A bit annoying. One more spot for a fake out that we could look for, because we didn't really break out and make a higher high. So it'd be something like that. 689, so it'd be 700 you'd be looking at. It was green right away. And then just found a little bit of shake and fake in it. That's life. We'll potentially try this again. 690 would be your stop now. Maybe still fakes out a little bit under that 89. That maybe is my concern. I'm thinking out loud here. Okay, guys, I am in. Average price 700 on the dot. Bad entry. Okay, I've closed this a little bit early. I closed at 93. It's annoying. Why didn't I just wait for the fake out that I said was coming? That was crazy. That's 86. Down about 14 points. That last one was very avoidable. That was stupid. Well done, Joel. It's a little bit annoying. Again, so stop here, potentially 86. Be 96 reference, right? Mean machine. Still no breakout above that confirmation high. No offense. I don't think the market cares about the Iranian official. Crazy. All right. So yeah, I'm still in business here, trying to find something. Be 727 for now. Lower 725. Be looking at 35 as a reference. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. 24 would have stopped you out, guys. It would have stopped you out, right? Don't feel FOMO. Right? That for sure would have stopped you out. Let's try this again here, potentially. 20 seconds. Would like it closing as close to 750 as possible. How mean of the market, though. Okay, good volume, right? Continuing to see increasing post confirmation. That's great. Held right at 50, fine. So now we're looking at 41. Stop loss might be a little bit lower still, maybe not. Again, we kind of want to repeat the same process or the same entry technique we thought about here, right? Where we wanted to use the previous area of breakout as kind of our reference price. It's kind of what we're looking to do here. Okay, watching carefully here. Nice and gentle, please. Not enough yet for me. There we go. All right, guys. So I'm in 37.75, 737.75. Don't stall on me here. Push, push. Need to see enthusiasm here through 50, right? Well, voice in my head is telling me to close. If I can get a breakout through 55, let's see. I'm going to wait for this candle to close, right? So however this candle closes, that's going to be dictating to me what I should do. So gut feeling, delay my decision, push it on to a logical exit. Let's see if this thing can keep pushing. Hold above 60, please. No, interesting. Well, that was a really ugly close. So now I have to close this. P&L is increasing based on that candle shape. All right, so there we go, guys. I'm out. Exit price 760 on the dot. 760 on the dot. Nice little ripper. I'll take that all day long. Nice work, Nick. And again, guys, all we do, right, is just listen to our candlestick. So I had a feeling. All that is a feeling until I get confirmation, basically, if that gut is correct, right? My gut was that, hey, it's probably going to sell off, or it's like it's not showing me the strength that I want. I didn't have that evidence when I had that initial feeling. So you wait until it's created, right? We had 20 seconds. And instead of closing at 51, waiting that extra 20 seconds got me an extra 10 points, right? So it's like, you know, that process of just because I have a thought doesn't mean I have to act on it right away. And then once I have a thought, knowing that I have like a set of binaries, right? A set of objective things that I can look at. That's what makes life easy, right? Because then I don't have to decide on making a decision. I just have to decide to see a pattern or a color. And I've been doing that, right, since kindergarten. So this is something that, you know, I can very easily do. I just need to learn how to delay my decision to that point. Nice work, Patrick. Well done, Deb. Wow. 50 points. Someone got in at 88. 100%. We're both for 100%. And it's exactly why you're saying it, right? Because your impulses are random in your execution. But when you're exiting after a candle closes or opens, right? Or you're making your decision off of that information, you have a repeatable pattern and a more consistent process. And that consistency is ultimately what gets rewarded, right? Because if you do the same thing every single time, then you also start to see the patterns on how you can squeeze more out of it, right? But if each time is like a different reaction, a different panic, a different whatever, and you keep giving power to those impulses, right? That's very similar muscle memory to what impulse trading is. So it's just, I don't know, stop believing everything that you believe is correct. Like, you don't have to believe that, right? And in fact, I'd probably argue that most of my thoughts during a trading day aren't designed to help me be profitable. They're designed to make me feel comfortable, and that's a very different experience. Okay, and so again, if this thing sets back up, we'll just retrade it. Now, we would need to see that volume return, right? Otherwise, there's no indication for us that this is particularly interesting. Volume is way below outlier, and at 10 minutes past 10 in the morning, I don't know, that's suspiciously thin. So what you think is going to happen isn't necessarily a reality of what will. Now, you're in a great winning position, so you shouldn't have a reason to be super greedy. If you're in still from like the 90s or the 80s, right? And that's what your entry was. Like, how much better can today get, right? So, I don't know, there's a risk reward there that you're maybe misinterpreting. Like, yes, maybe it could get to 800, but if your entry is, what was it, 688 or something like that, right, or whatever it is, your risk reward is no longer reference price to red line. It's whatever current price is to what your stop loss is versus 800, right, as your target. So your risk reward has changed on that decision. And at some point, right, you know, just because I think price action might go somewhere doesn't mean it will. None of us know. Not really. Like, what I would say, right, the feedback I would have is if you're in a trade and you don't know what would get you out of your trade, you should get out of that trade, right? If you don't know what your second trade looks like, basically, right, what your stop loss or what your take profit looks like, you don't have enough information to make that decision. So what I would say, Joel, is that you're skipping that part of the process. And then when you don't know what to do, you end up doing nothing, or you end up doing the emotional thing because it gives you the relief. Even if you got stopped out on that first two trades, that second one was more than enough to make you green many times over. Where did that 790 come from, though, right? Like, that's a number you picked out of thin air. So it's not based on the indicator. It's not based on what price action is done. So like that then becomes a, let's go, Jared. Let's go. Trading kicks your ass until it doesn't, but that's fantastic work, man. Oh, guys, I'm, yeah, probably going to go to bed here in a sec. I'm pretty tired. I don't see myself placing any further trades. 3 trades on the day, sitting at like plus 1800. Don't really need to do anything else. It's very generous of you, Jared. Thank you, man. There are like 3 or 4 of you guys who still have a resolution coming, but that resolution, unfortunately, like everything I've tried to fix, kind of creates the issue. So I'm waiting for a provider fix on that. I would imagine that that shows up in my inbox within the next couple hours or on Sunday night. So bear with me. Everyone else, you should have a fix and email communication over what's changed, etc., within the next few minutes. And yeah, I think I found the persistent bug. So hopefully that means things are much smoother and cleaner going forward. But yeah, we found something that was a little bit more structural that was causing all the downstream effects. I say I found it. But now I kind of just want to get some sleep and verify that I wasn't just taking crazy pills last night. But how she goes. So I'm going to call the stream here for the day, guys. Nice, good trading day. Nice that we finished off the week with a nice bang. Well done. Congratulations, everybody, on a good green day. That's fantastic work. And yeah, we'll be back at it again on Monday. Hey, let's go, Joshua. Congratulations, dude. It's gradually, then suddenly all at once, right? RS trading, if I don't have the intraday drawdown, people will just hedge their accounts and run up $100,000 profits on 20 contract trades. So the only way that I can transition people to trading live is if I can trust their ability to manage their risk and not do dumb shit. So that's why that rule exists. It is hard and it is not easy, but the goal here isn't for you to get like to maximize stim payouts. My goal here is to get you to trading live capital as soon as possible. So if I now give you 50 grand to trade with, let's say, and you made that money by taking a 15 contract long on one account and a 15 contract short on the other, well, I'm going to lose 50 grand, right? So guys, if you have any issues with the Deep Sharp web copier, you got to reach out to Volumetrica, right? And their support that's available there on the actual Deep Sharp web platform, right? That's not something that's owned by DTR. So any questions about that, anything along those lines, they have their support there. They've got their communication. They are very responsive. So, you know, that's going to be your fastest path. I don't also really want to develop a relationship with you guys where you're emailing me what to email them when you can just email them yourselves. Any other questions, team? Any other questions? You have a fixed drawdown, right? So it'll always be $4,500 from whatever your target is. And if you get a payout, it'll reset. All right. So you'll always have your max drawdown capability. No, Robert, your order of operations are incorrect. Stage one, get a setup, right? Which is a breakout through the range, low of day, high of day, right? Whatever. Stage two, it's setup, confirmation, execution, right? Not confirmation, setup, execution. Setup, confirmation, execution. What's the setup? Breakout or reversal, right? Through high of day, low of day, opening range. Confirmation occurs on the candle close. And that happens with both a strong candle shape and increasing and outlier, not increasing or not just outlier volume. And then execution is your risk reward, your position sizing, your 10 points. As all the eval and funded rules are explained in plain English on the website, please review those and don't ask me to regurgitate them here. All that information is available to everybody. I don't want to be doing FAQs when I'm trying to go to bed. All right, guys. See you on Monday.